Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. In this video, we will be taking our first look at the game Field Commander Napoleon. It is November with the Emperor. This is our game of the month. I did a whole kind of thing about the November game plan here in a previous video that came out a few days ago. So if you are unfamiliar with that and are wondering what this is all about, you could take a quick look at that. I think it's only like 5 minutes long anyway. So, but to get back on topic here, what we're going to do is play the Italian campaign here from 1796. This is the first campaign of 11 in this game. We're going to see kind of how far I can get this month. This does not mean I will not do other games. I will do other games and sprinkle these in once or twice a week, probably through the month of November. And perhaps beyond that, off and on, we'll see how we do, I guess, is really what I'm saying. But to kind of get right into this here, this is, as I said, the 1796 campaign in northern Italy. We have French forces here in Nice. We have some Piedmontese forces here in Savona, and some Austrians in Genoa. All of these counters here that look like the French flag, those are objective markers. So all of the cities on the map, of which there are 5, are objectives. So we have, Nice, of course. So I guess there may, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6 actually, sorry. Nice plus 5 that are currently held by the enemy. Looking at things from the French perspective, this is a solitaire game. You are playing as the French. So you have Turin, Milan, Genoa, Mantua, and Klagenfurt up there in the upper left corner. You do see some Austrian forces here off map. Those guys are reinforcements that will come on once the French get to Lonato or Mantua. But the first things first is one of the rules here is that we have to hold at least 2 objectives from the end of March, which actually is the first. Flip this back because we start on the start turn here. So we go to March, and we have to, by the end of March, before we move to May, we have to hold at least 2. So right now we hold Nice. We would need to hold, like, say, Turin or Milan or Genoa, at least 2 of any cities, as long as it's 2. 2 of the objectives by the end of this month, and maintain 2 or we lose. So the rules are pretty straightforward. The French have 3 supply points, and I'll talk about what we spend those on when they come into play. The enemy forces have 8. French forces, as I said, are in Nice. We have Piedmont with forces in Savona and Austria with forces in Genoa. The late arriving forces up there will arrive in Klagenfurt. Our objectives are Nice, Turin, Milan, Mantua, Klagenfurt, as I mentioned. Battle plans. If Napoleon's not present, the French get 1, and we'll talk about that when we do battles. The enemies get 2. So, special rule for Fortress Mantua, we add 1 extra garrison and fortification to Mantua. All of the objectives, Turin, Milan, Genoa, Mantua, Klagenfurt, you might notice they all have a fortification and a garrison. Mantua has 2 of each. So these are kind of what they're called static forces. They don't actually move on the battlefield, but they are forces that can attack and will need to be destroyed or removed for the French to actually capture that objective. So let's get right to it. So the first thing you're going to do here is we have our sequence of play. So we're going to advance the turn counter. So we go, and the turn marker has a French side and an enemy side. So we start on the French side because the French go first on the campaign map. So we are in March of 1796. Now, the second step are moves. So we make our moves. Now, we want to take Turin because we need to take 2 objectives before the end of the turn. So there is a rule called envelopment, where if you have 3 times the enemy force, you basically don't have to fight a battle. They're just automatically destroyed. So what we're going to do is we're going to take, not Napoleon. This is the Napoleon counter. As you can see, he's got a command rating. That's what the 2 is in the upper left corner. You might notice the 1796 there. That is for the campaign that we are playing. Each campaign has its own forces, its own counters. So that's kind of nice. But I need to take 27 because their total strength is 5 plus 4 is 9. We need 3 times that many, 27. La Harpe is 9. Manier is 5, that's 14. Augereau is 8, that's 22. And Macquart is 5, that is 27. So we're going to move those guys here. And now in theory, this should win me this, but there are some complicating factors that I'll talk about in a moment. Then Napoleon and the rest of the forces, Serrurier, Garnier, Kilmaine, and Stengel, are going to move into Savona here, where they will fight the Piedmontese forces here. So once you do that, the next one is to resolve battles. So let's talk about battles real quick. So basically, whenever you have forces of both sides in an area, the campaign map is composed of areas, as you might notice, you have a battle. So we have 2 battles to resolve. We have this one here and this one. So let's do this one first, because hopefully this one will actually turn out not to be a battle. Okay, so here we have our battle map, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Remove this for a second. Now here we have our fog of war chart, which is the first thing we're going to do, because we're now in the battle turn sequence. Okay, we're going to roll fog of war first as part of pre-battle, then we'll do our envelopment check, battle plan quantities, etc., as they are needed. Hopefully we won't need to do all of that stuff, because we will pass the envelopment check, and that will automatically let us destroy the enemy forces and capture the location without having to fight and possibly take casualties. We do not have any scouts. I'll talk about scouts later when they come up, but for now we don't have any on the French side or on the enemy side. The enemy doesn't get scouts anyway, but we roll on here, and as you can see down here, it says if 4 to 6 supply points, they add a +2. If 7 or more supply points, they add 4. And in both cases, they spend supply. So the enemy has 8, so that would put them at the 7+, so it means they get a +4 on the roll. So I'm going to roll. Now, the things that will mess us up is really this one here, if they add a reinforcement or they add a garrison. If either of those happen, then we actually have to fight the battle, because we will no longer have a 3-to-1 advantage. Whoops. Then we get a 5. 5 plus 4 is 9, and you can see that it's 3 turns, so this would be a 3-turn battle if we were to have it. But it says inflict 1 hit on your forces in 1 random French occupied city. The French don't occupy any cities currently, and we're just going to go to the envelopment phase. And I already know that with these 4 units here, if I lay them out, 9, 14, 22, 27, they have garrison and a fortification. And that adds up to 9. 27 is 3 times 9. These guys get eliminated. These guys will go back to the, oops, I've got an insight on the map there from a previous play here. But these guys go back to the campaign map. And they have captured Turin. Okay, so rather than shift back and then shift forward again, I'm just going to go through this out loud. The enemy now has 4 supply points. We are going to fight the battle in Savona. So we're going to take our French forces and bring them up. And here are our enemy forces. Just so we have them on the battle map, I'll deploy them here momentarily. The first thing we're going to do again is roll our fog of war roll. We roll a 9, which becomes a 13. And that gives us a 4-turn battle rather. And the enemy gains 1 battle plan. So instead of having 2, they're actually going to have 3. So I'll put this here so I'll remember, even though I will remember. And then after this, they're going to go back to having just 2. So, but they're now down to 2 supply points. Okay, so we did fog of war, the envelopment check. I know the balance of power. It's not going to be 3-to-1 for either side. Determine battle plan quantities. It's 3-2. Buy additional French battle plans. I can spend 2 supply points for 1 or 5 supply points for 2. I have 3. I'm not spending them because I have something else in mind that we'll get to when we get past this stage of the game. Select insight counters. So insight counters are kind of special activities, I guess, that you can do if you have Napoleon with you. There are, let's see, there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them. They range from things like, giving you extra morale, allowing you to steal supplies, moving your forces directly to the front, adjusting the duration of the battle, using engineers, doing a sweep, which is really useful if you can get it, but it's not easy to get, and then terrain, which makes all the enemy forces start in the back. So I think in this case, I'm just going to use, I'm not going to take an insight. They are useful. They are extremely useful at times, but for this one, I'm just going to not use one. So we're going to skip that. I'm going to get two battle plans per turn. And we're going to place our French forces. So I'm going to put them out in column to begin with, because we're going to try to advance. And when you advance, you want to be in column, which you probably know already. So we have 4. I'm just going to put them all there. I've got two cavalry, 2 infantry. The enemy, they've got 5. This number here in the parentheses is a 4. They can have 4 units. Each side can have 4 units in this row and 6 in each of the front rows. So it's possible to have 12 total, 6 for each side. But it's 4, 6, and then 6 and 4 for the enemy, and so on. So they're going to actually, they start in column, according to the rules. I'm just putting them out kind of pseudo-randomly here. This is just the order that I stacked them in. And that guy goes in the back. So you might notice that Deschat here has 2 units. He has an infantry and a cavalry under his command. Cavalry has 2. One thing I didn't talk about was the counters. So if we look at this cavalry counter here, you can see that Deschat, it says 7. That's his, basically his morale. He used that for activation and shock. And we'll talk about that as well. But the bottom numbers, the 6 and the superscript 3, are hit numbers. So a 6 or less would be a hit. If it was a 3 or less, it would be 2 hits. There are some modifiers that can be applied to those, some die roll modifiers, and we'll see that as we play. So that is that. Now we go to the battle turns. We're in turn 4. And the first thing we do is inside activation. That we don't have any, so we don't have to worry about that. Select and place French battle plans. So I'm going to use a charge for Stengel and a flank for Kilmaine. I'm going to use my cavalry here to see if I can do some quick damage to these guys. And then these 2 will just get a basic kind of move here. Now we draw for the enemy. They get 3. And they get, and I'm just going to put, I'm going to kind of alternate. So we're going to go Deschat. And then we'll go with Provera. And then the third one I'll put on the guy in the back, which is closing. Forward, because now after that we do the resolve of the enemy battle plans. Forward, if column, no row, they're in column, so they're going to advance 1. And then move to a line formation if they're 1 away from the enemy, but they're not, they're 2. So they're just going to, the next thing would be attack, but they can't do that. So that's the end of that one. Now this one, because of the distance, they advance, which is advance here. 2+ if column, no roll, advance. Wheel, cavalry advance, he's infantry, then advance, so he advances, then he turns to a line, and then infantry would be attack, but you can't attack at 2, you have to be within 1. So that's the end of the special ones. He gets an advance and he gets closing if infantry no roll, so he gets to automatically column advance, shock -3. If he was in the same row with an enemy force, the enemy force would have to make a shock check with a -3 die roll modifier, and then he would attack. So that's the end of their turn. So now we have our turn. So I'm going to do the charge with Stengel, so he gets to advance, and then again there would be a shock check, but there's no enemy forces here, and then he's going to advance again. So he's now up here, and his order now says, if you notice here, it says advance shock -3 and then advance shock -3 again. and then attack. So, because he's in the same row with them, the weakest unit takes a shock check, and that'll be de Vital here. So he needs a 5 or less to pass, and he gets a 1. So he passes the shock check, even with the -3 modifier, because he had a 5, -3 was 2. So he actually passes that, which is good, because this would have reduced him and forced him to retreat. Now we get to do the attack, but because we're at melee distance, there's a +3 to both of these, so it's an 11 and a 7. So if he rolls anything, it's going to be at least 1 hit. If he rolls a 7 or less, it's 2 hits. And he rolled a 9, which is only 1 hit. So we're going to knock their cavalry out, because the cavalry does not have a reduced side. You can notice that the reverse, while it does have a slash on it, it does not have any values for combat. So he's just eliminated, and they go into their reinforcement cup. So that ends Stengel's charge, and now Kilmaine will do his flank. So he's going to advance, and then he's going to advance again, and the second one again carries a 3 shock, so he needs a 2 or a 1. Unbelievable, he rolled a 2. Yeah, and so now he gets an attack, and his numbers are 9 and 6. 1, so that's 2 hits. So that will be a reduction for Provera, which will eliminate him. A reduction and then a second reduction, which would eliminate him. So I did what I wanted. I eliminated 2 of their units. Now these guys get default orders, which are up here. You can do march. So that's what they're going to do. If column, no roll. So they're going to move forward. And that's it. Now the cavalry can do 2 advances with that, because it says cavalry advance and then advance again. So that's kind of how that works. So now we go to turn 3, and we start over again with insight activation, which we do not have. Then determine battle plan quantities. Again, we get 2. They get, we select and place our battle plans. We're going to give Sourier a push order, and we'll give Garnier an engage order. Okay, so now, next step is to draw the enemy. So they get 3, and they get melee, which is fine. And then de Vital will get a forward, and Brempt will get, and that's a good one actually for him. That's an advance, and it's a shock -3, which means Kilmaine is going to have to roll a 4 or lower. So we'll start here with this melee one, which is just basically going to end up being attack, but it's an attack +3, so it's going to be 8/3. So this is a little bit tough. Rolled a 10. So a 10 means that nothing happened there. Oh, I had to roll to activate him at first, but the 10 roll would be the same thing. It was higher than his activation number, so I'm not going to bother to re-roll. Forward. If column, no roll. Advance, 1 line, attack. So he's in melee, so he's going to attack anyway. So he's going to get a 3, which will become a 6. So it's a slick 6/3. And he rolled a 2, so that's 2 hits, which means he's going to kill both of my cavalry. That's tough. That's real tough. But yeah. That's the breaks, I guess. So that means he gets to advance, and he can attack here, but his attack is a 3. So we roll, and if he rolls a 3 or less, it's a hit. And he rolls an 8. So no hits there. Now we get to do our attacks here. So we'll start with Serrurier. He's going to advance. He gets a shock -4. So basically, I guess it's either one of these guys. They need to roll a 1. They roll a 9. So that reduces and forces them to retreat. And now he gets an attack. Actually, no. He just gets an advance. There's no attack. He just gets an advance, apparently, which is fine. I should have done a volley, but So Garnier is going to advance. He's going to get a shock -2. So Di Vital needs a 3 or higher. Gets a 6, so he is also going to take a hit and retreat. And now he gets an attack with a +1, so it's a 4/1. So if he gets a 1, it's 2 hits. If he gets a 4, it's 1 hit. And he gets a 1. 2 hits will destroy the shot. And that is the end of that turn. So we go to the turn 2 now. And we select and place our French battle plan. So we're going to put a volley on Garnier. And we will put a prepare on Sourier with a default fire attack. And then for the enemy, they only get 2 because they only have 2 units. So they get wedge and they get rush. Those are 2 good ones, actually. But what we're going to do here is, because I have this prepare, that lets me go ahead of him. So we're going to resolve Serorier's attack first, which is just a fire attack. So he needs a 7 or higher to inflict one hit, which would kill either of these guys that I wish to kill, which would probably be this one. Okay. It's a 7. So 7 means that he kills him, and it kills him. We'll take him out because he would get the shock, and then well, yeah, we're gonna take him out. Okay, now he can attack, so he gets an advance. Well, first he's in column, so we have to check to see if he activates, since he only has a 3, and he rolled a 6, so he does not activate. Therefore, he's not going to be able to do that. So he's going to sit there. Now he's done. So now he's got a volley, but he gets an infantry attack, but he has to roll for it. So he needs a 6 or higher, or 6 or lower rather. Gets a 5. So his attack will have a +4, which means he needs a 7. And he gets a 3, which kills Bremp, and that is going to end the battle. So now Garnier and Serorier will go back with Napoleon to Savona. So here you can see we have captured Turin, so we have 2 cities now. And we've also captured Savona, which does not have any city or anything in it. And that would be so now we've come to forced march. So we can spend supply. As I mentioned before, there are other things you can do with supply. We can spend some of our supply here at 1 each to force march our units. So I could take some of these guys here, for example, and move them to Savona. I could take 3 of them or 2 of them, whichever I wished. Move them up to join these guys here, which might be worthwhile depending on what the enemy does. Or I could also try to move them here and see if I could capture Milan. Because if I move these 2, 9 and the 8, the 9 and the 8, like if I took these guys and moved them here, that would be 17-9, which is only like 2-1, but we would have a shot at defeating these guys, which might not be a bad thing. But we would only have 1 battle plan too, because Napoleon would not be present. So I'm going to spend 2, leaving me with 1. And I'm going to move, actually, you know what? I'm going to spend all 3. And I'm going to move 3 of these units into Savona, so that, assuming these guys attack here, I'll have enough forces to fight them off. So that's the idea. Now we would come to French resupply, and the way that works is we gain 3 supply points as a base, plus 3 for each French-held city. We hold 2 cities. That gives us 9 supply points. So we get a 5 and a 4. And then we can spend those to do things like rebuild forces or things of that nature. So we did lose, like say we wanted to bring Stengel back, right? So here's Stengel's counter. You use their firepower or attack rating, combat rating, which is an 8. So he would cost me 8 supply of my 9 to bring him back. You can take a reduced one, which I do not have, and bring them back to full strength as well. There are other things you can do too. Yeah, it costs 2 supply points to flip a reduced force to full strength, but I don't have any. You can purchase French recruit static forces or previously destroyed French forces. The cost to purchase each is equal to its combat value. So let's say I wanted to purchase some cannon, let's say. Like I could purchase this cannon for 4, which would leave me with 5. Let's buy a garrison and put it in. So that costs us 5. So we bought a garrison for Turin for 5, leaving us with 4 supply points. And now we will flip over to the enemy and let them do their turn. Okay, first step is to do enemy orders. So enemy orders are right here. So first we have to separate them into groups of 3, and you do it by nationality and type. So we only have Austrians on the board now. So we have, I'm going to take 3 infantry, put them together. I'm going to put these 3 together, and then these 3, these 2 need to go together. So even though he's a cavalry, because they have the same commander, I'm going to keep them together. Because one person can't be in 2 places at once in case they get split up. So we have 3, 3, 3, and then we have 2 infantry and 2 cavalry. So these 4 guys, they're all in Genoa. I'm just spreading them out so I can see them. We're going to roll here. And they have 2 supply points. So if 1 to 3, they get a +1 on the rolls and lose a supply point. So the first 2 we do will cost them a point, and they'll get a +1. So we'll start at the top with Salish. He gets a 10, which becomes an 11, which is advance. Now, in the case of an advance, I believe that just means they move into the same, they move towards the enemy. So that's going to be here. Okay, now we'll do Nicoletti. He also rolls a 10. So that's also going to be an advance, and that is going to be the end of their, it's going to be the end of their +1s. So now we'll do Rosselmini. He gets a 5, which is random. So random means they move in a random direction. So I'm going to split it because there's 4 places they could go. I'm going to say odd will be one of these 2, and even will be one of these 2. It's odd, so it's one of these 2, and now we'll go odd and even here. So they're going here as well. So we're going to have one big battle here, it looks like. Now we've got their 2 cavalry. They roll a 6, which again is random. I'll do the same thing. They get even, so that they're going to be either in Lodi or Mantua. And odd, we'll put them in Lodi. All right, so this is going to be an important battle, and that is our next thing here on our sequence, is to resolve battles, and then they'll do resupply. So this is going to be a big battle here, because they have a lot of strength. That's a lot of strength. So we're going to move up to the battle area and resolve this battle. Fog of War. They get no die roll modifier. They get an 8. Transfer 2 of your supply points to the enemy. Great. So that will leave me with 2 and give them 2 as well. Fantastic. Development check. Well, I know that we're not going to have enough. So Napoleon's going to go in his spot. We've got 7, 10, 19, 27, 32. And they have 6, 11, 13, 16, 22, 27, 30. So it's very even, 32 to 30. They just have more units than I do. And then we do battle plans. So we get 2, they get 2. I could buy some, but I am not going to. And then we go to insight counters. So what's our duration here with an 8? It's only a 3-turn battle. So this is going to be interesting, I think. What we're going to do is we are going to buy an insight, and I'm going to buy morale. So what morale does is it gives us a +3. Well, anyway, it says your forces gain +3 on shock rolls. So I'm going to buy that for my guys, which gives us only one battle plan per turn. So let me actually move that up a little bit there. All right, place French forces. So, well, we got a bunch of. We're gonna do this. Actually, let's do it this way. No, let's do it that way. All right. Then we place the enemy forces. So they'll just take the first 4, and everybody else will go up here. They all go into column to start with. I think so. All right. Insight activation. So this gets activated, and that lasts throughout the battle. Then select and place French battle plans. So we are going to do. So we'll just do a push with a harp. All right. So now we draw for them. They get 2. And they get aimed. This time we'll start at the other side and forward. All right. If line, no roll. They are not in line, so they have to roll. So they need a 4 or higher. They get a 4 or lower, rather, and they get a 7, so that's no good. And this guy, if column, no roll, advance. If one line, attack. So they can't, basically. So these guys will get the default advance. So they'll move up here, and this one will go up, up, up. He'll stay because the limit here is 4. So they cannot advance. Okay. So now we will need to move up if we can. So push. He's got a push order. If column, no roll, they're in line. So he needs a 7 or higher. So he moves up, and there's no. I should have used engage in hindsight, but it is what it is. So I used the wrong thing, because if I had used engage, I could have started them in column, moved them up, and then when I got there, I would have been able to fire at them with a +1. Because now we're going to, they're going to have. Well, it doesn't matter. So he's going to get a default march order. Rolls a 3, so that's good. He gets to go up. Augereau, same thing. Got a 10, so he's not going to move up. Manier needs a 6. He gets a 9. He's also not going to move up. Serorier needs an 8. Gets a 6, so he will move up. So now we go to the turn 2. Same thing, inside activation, stays. Then we get select and place French battle plan. So what I think I'm going to do here, we'll do a volley for Garnier. And that's it. And then we'll draw for them and get 2. I'll give them to Petoni and Salish. They get melee and aimed. So that's bad news right there. So melee, if line, no roll, so they have to roll. He needs a 5 or less. Gets a 9, so that's not going to do anything here. Did not get activated. Now this one, aimed, if line, no roll, so he has to roll. He needs a 7 or less. Gets a 2. So now he gets to attack with a +4, so that's going to give him a 9. And he gets a 1. So that's going to reduce Garnier, which sucks, but it is what it is, right? All right, so that's him. Now We have to roll. I forgot to do this before, but we have to try to activate him. So a 7 or less, that's a 4. He gets to fire. So he's got a 6/3. Gets a 6, so that's one more hit. So that's going to kill Garnier. Terrible. All right, now these guys will start with Nicoletti. He has a 5, gets a 2, so he's going to move up. These guys can't advance, so we'll check this guy next. He rolls a 6, so he can advance. All right. So now I don't have anybody with orders, so he's just going to fire. He has a 9, rolls a 1. So I'm going to inflict that on the lowest unit, which is one of these two. And we'll just flip Potoni over, like so. Now we'll try to advance these guys. So he's an 8, gets a 1. Augereau is a 7, gets a 3. And Manier gets a 6, so that is good as well. So they move up. We go to the last turn. And battle plans. Well, we'll try volley again, I think. And this time we'll put it on somebody who's not going to be the first one to get killed. That would be him. So we're going to put it on the... This is rough here, but I'm going to put it on... It almost doesn't even matter, but I'm going to put it on Sourier, which will make it basically impossible for him to miss. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's do prepare and do the harp, because this lets him that lets him go first. And then we'll draw their 2. And they get closing and wheel. So closing, if infantry, no roll, column advance, shock -3. So they're going to advance. Oh, we have to try to, if infantry, no roll. So he doesn't have to roll, he's going to advance. And now he gets a shock -3. So our lowest is Marnier, who gets a +3, -3, it's a wash. So he needs a 6 or less, rolls a 5, so no shock. And then he gets to attack. So his attack is a 2 +3 for being in melee. So he's a 5/3 now. And that's off the board. And he gets a 6, so that's nothing. So that's gone. Then we get the wheel here. Cavalry advance cannot, because he's not cavalry. He's going to advance. So again, we're going to do a shock check. This time he's going to get the +3, so it's a 9 or less. He gets an 8, so that's good. Now he gets to attack. Now again, it's melee, so he's an 8/3. And it's a 5, so he's going to reduce Marnier. And now he's done. And this goes away. Now, combat. So they're going to go to line and fire. He's got a 6/3. And he rolled a 3. So this will eliminate Marnier, and then Augereau takes a casualty. And now Nicoletti. I keep forgetting to roll the activation. He needs a 5. Gets it. Now he's going to do the turn and fire. He has a 3. Gets a 9, so nothing. Now these guys can advance. So we'll just, well, again, roll for activation. So that's up. Now we'll do Lippe. 9, no. Rossomini, 3. So Rossomini moves up. These guys can't advance. Oh, yes, they can, because that's the front. What am I doing? So he failed his activation. He needs a 4 or higher, gets it. So he's going to move up as well. Okay. And I forgot to have him go first. Oh my goodness. I'm going to switch this out since I didn't use it. And I'm going to make it, we'll do engage. and I'll put, and well, you know what? Whatever. It doesn't matter. This is the last turn. I've already lost way more than I wanted to. He's going to attack. Yeah, screw it. I'll give him engage. That's going to give him a +1 on his attack, which will make it a 10. So he's guaranteed a hit. And if he rolls a 1, he'll get 2 hits. And it's a 2. Actually, he gets a +3 because it was +3/+3. So that actually is going to be 2 hits because they're in melee. So that's going to kill Potoni, and it's going to reduce Salish. So that worked out okay. Now he's done. He'll fire. So we need a 10 will be 1 hit, and then a 3 would be 2 hits. It's a 9, so it is 1 hit. And he kills him. Now, Augereau has a 4. He's going to shoot here, volley fire. Gets a 4, so that's a hit. And their weakest unit is Rakavina, so he gets reduced. And that is the last turn, so we go to withdrawal. Now there's a withdrawal chart right here. 1-2 is rejoin, 3-5 enemy retreat, 6-8 French retreat, 9-10 in camp. We get a 3, which is enemy retreat. So the enemy will retreat. Let's pick up all our pieces here. Okay, so we are back on the campaign map. We need to determine where they go. So they have 3 choices. 1, 2, 3. All right, so this is hard because it's an odd number. I guess I'll do 1, 2, 3 here, 4, 5, 6 here, 7, 8, 9 here. If it's a 10, I'll re-roll it. It's a 9, so they're going to move back to Genoa, which is the sensible place for them to move. And now we go to enemy resupply. So the way resupply works is we roll, and if we roll a 1, we roll for each city they hold. So they hold Milan, Genoa, Mantua, and Klagenfurt. So we roll, they get a 4, and a 4 is 1 reinforcement. So we draw a reinforcement from the cup. Draw one of these out, and we get a line level recruit, and they go, I believe, in the city that they were drawn for. So we'll put him there. So he goes there. Now we'll roll for Genoa. We get an 8, which is 3 resupply points, so that'll move them up to 5. Then we get Mantua gets a 7, which again is 3 supply points, which gives them now 8. And Klagenfurt gets a 4, which is a reinforcement. So we're going to draw out of the bucket here, and we get a recruit cavalry of conscript level. That goes to Mantua. All right. And that ends the turn, so we would then move to May of 1796. That's going to end the video. I'm going to kind of hold it off here, and then we'll come back and do the May 1796 turn in the second video. And hopefully now that I've got a little bit of a flow, we can move along a little bit faster and maybe get a couple turns in. I would like to at least finish this campaign within like maybe 3 videos. So we'll see how that works out. But for now, that's going to do it. Until next time, my name's Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered. Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. If you are a subscriber, thank you for supporting the channel. And if you're not, I appreciate you watching. And if you would like to subscribe, that would be awesome, but I understand. Either way, I hope you come back and check out future videos. And yeah, that's going to do it. So until next time, happy gaming.